What Harry and Meghan thought was going to be an excellent idea has backfired in the biggest way and ended up being a huge mess. I mean, go figure. Pretty much everything Harry and Meghan try to do turns into a big fat mess. Today we are going to talk about this travesty that Meghan Markle wore and the entire controversy surrounding their appearance at Kris Jenner's birthday party. Before we dive in, I would like to invite you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Click the like button and the hype button if you want to. Meghan and Harry, on Remembrance Day weekend, Veterans Day weekend, went to Kris Jenner's 70th birthday bash on Saturday, November 8th. The contrast doesn't even need to be pointed out between what Harry and Meghan chose to do that weekend and what the real royal family chose to do. And that's only relevant because Harry keeps trying to position himself as some sort of a faux royal. He went to Canada and did that entire trip, which we're going to have a separate video about, and he did so on his own accord as a private citizen. Now, private citizens can do whatever they want, of course, but Harry framed it as and set it up like a royal engagement, sort of a tour, a sort of a vibe, a trip and a visit that was aimed at, the veterans over that weekend that he structured as a royal trip. He really did. If you were to take the template, that's what Harry used. So because he keeps trying to position himself as such, and Harry and Meghan use their titles every chance they get, they are still clearly trying to keep parallels with the royal family and frame themselves as royals and look royal to those who may be unfamiliar with the full story and the full picture of things. So regardless of that contrast of doing something so self-centered and frivolous, especially at a time right now when people are really struggling to go and publicly engage in a birthday celebration is one thing, but to do so in such glamorous opulence and excess as this, and then to have this whole photo drama afterwards, it really, really places Harry and Meghan into this separate camp where their priorities were way out of whack for that particular weekend and for how they want to be viewed. They're very confused how they want to be viewed. If you want to just be a normal celebrity, you want to be a Kardashian type, or just a regular Hollywood creature, okay, then go to Kris Jenner's birthday on Remembrance Day weekend, but don't do that and try to be viewed as doing a royal thing for Remembrance Day weekend. Like, don't try to do both publicly because it doesn't come off well. Now, let's begin with the photo scandal because it's still going on. There's still all sorts of drama coming out of this. The latest news as of filming this today, after Kris and Kim posted photos that included Meghan and Harry in the party, the posts were deleted from their Instagram pages. So, of course, people were speculating, why were the photos deleted? Did Meghan and Harry throw a tantrum and ask them to be taken down? Was this because it made them look bad for Remembrance Day? Like, what's going on here? Well, there are a couple of different versions of events here. It's pretty well established and consistent across all the news coming out that Harry and Meghan were the ones to ask the Kardashians to take it down, which is its own mistake. Because in Hollywood, the Kardashians really do drive publicity in a strong way. Like, they're not all there is when it comes to publicity, but they have cornered the market pretty well. If there is a celebrity that you could go to get exposure, it would be the Kardashians. And they are hugely popular despite people criticizing them and being somewhat polarizing because they do seem to kind of stay in their lane for the most part. They don't pretend to be something they're not. I think they have earned themselves more acceptance over the years because of that. Because just their connections alone and their level of success is something to be respected in the realm of their chosen careers and leveraging social media, for example, things of that nature. They have achieved quite a bit of success, especially when you think about the fact that none of them, except for Kendall maybe with her modeling, none of them have a particular craft that they have developed that caused them to become celebrities. They are a true reality celebrity conglomerate. And so their exposure, their access, their publicity is its own force within Hollywood. So to go against them or to exert some degree of control over them probably won't go well for the longevity of the relationship between the Kardashians and the Sussexes. And a lot of reports have said that Kim is displeased with this because the very fact that the photos had to be taken down or were taken down after being initially posted has caused this huge media storm that has really taken eyeballs off and attention off of Kris, her party, the rest of the guests that were there, the Kardashians in general. And surely that was one of their targets for this event, was to gain some degree of the publicity and the attention. And this whole Meghan and Harry situation, the photograph situation, is definitely muddying those waters, and it makes both parties look bad, honestly. At the end of the day, Kim and Kris, the Kardashians, have a far better chance of recovering from this because of their longevity in the public eye being more of a positive one. Even though they are controversial and a lot of people don't like them, as I've said, you cannot deny the success that the Kardashians have, and their entire clan has a huge amount of followers and connections within the industry because they have been working in the Hollywood industry and Hollywood circles for years. I mean, they've lived there for forever. So they're much more established and have much better connections and whatnot, and a much better reputation amongst fellow celebrities than the Sussexes do. So this can have a negative ripple effect for the Sussexes in terms of their reputation amongst fellow celebrities. And this is something we've talked about many times. They seem to lack the basic awareness of what the etiquette is within certain circles. Like, for example, Harry in Spare saying that he took mushrooms in a specific celebrity's house. Naming that alone was a huge social faux pas. Those are the types of things you keep private for the sake of the person whose house it was, or the party whoever threw the party. Like, that's just not cool to out people like that. And so Harry and Meghan don't get that type of etiquette. Everything is self-serving for them. Which leads me to a potential reason why Meghan and Harry followed through with a request to ask the Kardashians to take down the pictures, which is just the sheer level of attention that it would place on the fact that Harry and Meghan were there. That it wouldn't be missed or overlooked. Nay, it would become the biggest story of the week that Harry and Meghan were there and then had this photograph scandal happen. As many other people have pointed out, Harry and Meghan were already captured on camera entering the venue. Before there were any chance to sign a consent form of whether or not photos could be published of them or taken of them inside the event. Even before that occurred, while they were walking up the drive and getting into the party, there were paparazzi outside and Harry and Meghan were photographed. And as we have established, that was a public space. Therefore, there is no recourse. There's no privacy in a public place. So Harry and Meghan had no way to hide those photographs or to get those photographs taken down. So those were going to be published either way. The fact that then the photos from inside the venue were posted and then taken down brought all the more attention on it and created myriad stories about this whole photograph issue because of people speculating. Currently, there are a few different versions of events circulating. Nobody has come out and confirmed and cleared it up exactly what happened, though there is a chance that Kim will leverage this for her reality TV series and divulge the details of what happened behind the scenes. But who's to say if her version of events would be that reliable anyway? Who knows? Reality TV is still oftentimes scripted and fictitious. So currently, some sources say that Harry and Meghan did not consent to photographs being taken of them inside the venue, inside the party, that they checked no next to their names for photo consent, meaning they did not agree to having their photos taken. However, sources from the event say there were no consent forms. We weren't having people sign consent forms. That's not what we were doing. So the most likely truth to this scenario is that Harry and Meghan asked for the photos to be taken down because they did not explicitly consent to photos being posted on someone else's social media of them inside the party. because they did not explicitly sign something that said, yes, I agree to be photographed and I am aware I will be photographed inside this venue. Because of that, they asked for the photos to be taken down. And the sources close to the party are saying, well, we didn't have consent forms. You were invited to this party and would therefore assume, this is the Kardashians we're talking about, this is someone's birthday party. You should assume that you will be photographed, that you could be photographed. And if you stand and pose for a picture with the Kardashians, you should be aware, I mean, obviously common sense, that that photograph is their property and they can do whatever they want with it. So if you pose for a photograph, especially with the likes of a reality TV star like Kim Kardashian, then you should expect that photo to get out whenever she wishes and however she wishes. So that would mean that the Kardashians did a huge courtesy to Harry and Meghan by taking it down. But think about the tone of that conversation. It can kind of send the message that, yes, we wanted to come to your party and we wanted to network with the other wealthy people there, but we do not want to be publicly seen alongside the likes of you, the Kardashians. That's kind of the vibe that it gives. The looking down the nose at someone of, I don't want my photograph posted on social media with you. Despite the paparazzi photographing me outside the venue, I still don't want the pictures of me next to you inside the party on your social media. Like, that's kind of an insulting thing to do. Because as I said, if you stand and pose for a photograph with people, then, unless it's on your camera, that is no longer your property. So don't stand and pose for the pictures like they did. I don't understand what Harry and Meghan could have possibly been thinking. But the sources close to Kim Kardashian that say that she is offended by this and she does not appreciate how the Sussexes have handled this, especially them leaking to People magazine, I think it was, that they didn't sign consent forms or that they said no. That is a manipulation of the truth, because if there are no consent forms for any guests, then that's just Harry and Meghan saying, well, we didn't explicitly give permission. We didn't sign anything that said we were allowed to be photographed. Therefore, we did not give our consent and you must take down these pictures because we were not aware that this would happen. Their leak implied that there were forms and they explicitly said no, which is not the case. So they're trying to make the Kardashians look bad in this situation by using this self-serving leak narrative. If you show up to a Kardashian production, you're part of the machine. And as I said, if you're standing and posing and you're there with people whose entire empire, you could call it, has been built on social media followers, reality / paparazzi sort of fueled fame that the Kardashians have, you should assume that it's all content. I mean, these are people who have like over 20 seasons of a reality TV show, I think, between the family, across the entire family. And the entire family is part of this reality TV content creation situation that the Kardashians have going. Of course, they have other businesses going on like Skims and Kylie Cosmetics. Yeah, duh. But their main claim to fame, what got them in the door and what fuels the interest in them ongoing, is their reality TV stuff and their social media stuff. And they are some of the most prolific content creators out there because of the longevity of their careers with their reality TV shows and their social media. And so anybody would assume and reasonably understand that if you're going to be around the Kardashians, it may very well be content for them, because almost everything is content for them. And then on top of it, to stand and take a photo with someone, then you're posing for a photograph that they own. Like, what are you thinking, Harry and Meghan? It's insane. Meghan tried to rewrite the narrative and Kim hated that. It's not the only reason why the Kardashian is no longer a fan of the Duchess. I wonder if she ever really was. According to this source, the tension mounted between the two at the party when Markle politely but icily declined to film a simple greeting for the Kardashians on Hulu. Kim took it as a snub. She felt Meghan acted like Buckingham Palace had arrived, and that goes down badly in Calabasas. Well, it goes down badly in pretty much any area because it feels very pompous. Harry and Meghan are no longer working royals. They're very distant from any and all royal connection at all, and they're claiming to want to live privately. So the use of the titles, the showing up with excessive security, the wanting special treatment, the wanting the pictures taken down, all of these things are essentially diva behavior at this point because they are no longer part of something bigger than themselves. They are just themselves, and they are not famous on any given merit. They are just famous thanks to Harry's familial connections. So this feels very self-important and out of place for Meghan and Harry to behave this way. So of course it's going to make people feel turned off by them. That's what we've been witnessing for years now with Harry and Meghan, that they try to dip their toe into certain groups, communities, settings, and they always make a fool of themselves and end up rejected or avoided by those groups forevermore because of the way they behave and act. And this self-importantness is just silly, especially when you think about, for the Kardashians, like it or not, are very successful and they have built a lot of that themselves. Of course, they had a lot of access and a lot of help along the way and publicity and things like that from various connections. But they still have turned their opportunities into something big. Very, very high value businesses the Kardashians have established, and their social media presence and their reality TV careers are big business for them. That they have, even if they were sort of given those opportunities through other means and connections, they have turned it into something big and stable for themselves and made it a success. You cannot deny that. Whether or not it's a pleasant fact, it is the truth. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan have been given so many opportunities and so many chances and so many connections and privileges and afforded such a great opportunity to build something big. Even just the publicity that they have and the family connections and the wealth that they have, all of these things, they could have really catapulted themselves into success. And we have watched for years them fail at every chance they get to turn it into a success. So just on that merit alone, the Kardashians are far and away a lot more well-established, successful, savvy than Harry and Meghan. Like by miles. Because at least the Kardashians turned their opportunities and the things that they were given and their privileges and their connections into something. You know? The same cannot be said about the Sussexes. And the fact that Meghan and Harry have, because of this photo scandal situation, turned so much of the attention on themselves, it feels a little bit manipulative. It feels to me like Meghan purposefully, intentionally, knowingly allowed these events to play out, and once the photos were posted, she saw an opportunity to turn it into a publicity thing for her, a publicity frenzy for her that focuses on her and the fact that she was there, that she took advantage of the Kardashians' fame to make it about her and get some of that fame and publicity herself, which is, like I said, a manipulative thing to do and not going to make her any friends in this circle, which would be a mistake. And the Kardashians also, another thing they have going for them is loyalty. They are very loyal to one another. And so I would imagine that they tend to value loyalty in other connections and other people that they meet and in the industries, that they would recognize this as manipulative and certainly disloyal. Like, they were privileged enough to get a gracious invitation to Kris Jenner's party, probably because Meghan has been rubbing elbows with and sucking up to Emma Grede, and Emma Grede helped Kim get Skims going. And so Emma Grede and Kim Kardashian are surely pretty close. That's probably how Meghan landed this invitation. And the Kardashians were gracious enough to allow them to come, or to invite them, and then to turn around and do this and basically hijack the publicity narrative around it to create this big media storm, which kind of makes both parties look bad, as we explained. Certainly would feel disloyal to the Kardashians. Additionally, reports came out immediately that Meghan was in networking mode. People don't go to somebody's birthday party bash, especially one like that that's just supposed to be like a really glamorous, really fun event with a concert happening, just a really fun evening. People don't go there to network per se. I guess technically any gathering can be a networking event, sure. But a Saturday evening, a birthday party, there in a private capacity, you would assume most people who attended were kind of in the zone or the mode to have fun and relax and just have an evening off. And Meghan going around being in networking mode, I can only imagine what that means. Of like, oh yes, we should definitely talk about doing this later. Yes, we should follow up with a meeting about doing this sometime. We should definitely get together and talk more about this and that and the other thing. Ugh, that is not good party etiquette, and it's not polite. And when those reports first came out, to me, it was a clue that people weren't exactly pleased that Meghan was in networking mode, that it was kind of annoying to some of these people, because remember, most of the people who were there were either celebrities who have built their own careers on their talents, like musicians, artists, and actors, or high-powered business people, like Jeff Bezos and people like that, who are wealthy and successful because they have built their careers and reputations. They're there on merit. They're known on merit. Meghan and Harry are not the same as that. And so for them, the couple who is famous, who may be the only people there who are famous not on their own merits and are famously bad at everything they try and have famously failed at everything they've tried career-wise and business-wise, to be going around pestering people for networking stuff and trying to get people's numbers and set up meetings and things like that. Gross. Pathetic. How terrible and how annoying for those people who are there and who are actually successful and don't need to network at a birthday party on a Saturday night. Meghan and Harry have to network at this birthday party because they don't have any other options. They don't have any other connections. They don't have any other reason to get opportunities. But let's take a look at this travesty of an outfit. Okay, Meghan Markle looked insanely ridiculous. This was a horrible outfit. This looks like a cheap piece of fabric wrapped around her waist as a skirt. Look at how it's folded in and tucked in here. This looks like she just flung it together. This does not look like a real skirt. And the main reason why is because of the cheap bodysuit she's wearing underneath. I would bet this may very well be a Skims bodysuit, because Kim and, Meghan is that daft that she would think, oh, I should probably wear this because then Kim will like me because I'm wearing a piece that from her collection. Manipulation, love bombing, that sort of a vibe. But this turtleneck is puckering and pulling against her neck. It does not fit her shoulders. Look at where the seam for this bodysuit is. It's like all the way in here is where the seam for this bodysuit is. And her shoulder is way out here. The seam should be out here, on the tip of your shoulder, on the outer corner. It should not be way in here. So this bodysuit does not fit Meghan Markle at all. And you can see by how it's pulling in the armpits, pulling at the shoulder, pulling at the neck. And it doesn't even go down all the way on her arms. As you can see, it looks like the sleeve is kind of messed up a little bit, to be fair. Goes to here. It looks like it needs to be pulled down and straightened out and fitted better. There's puckering everywhere. It looks too tight. But most of all, the fabric looks cheap of the bodysuit. And it's stretched tight. And so it's a lighter black. It's not as dark of a black as the skirt. And it's probably a different type of fabric as well. The suit, the bodysuit, is probably a stretchy fabric that's got a lot of elasticity to it, which makes colors a little bit lighter. And then the skirt is probably an actual nice fabric, perhaps a silk or something of that nature. But it looks like something she just threw together. And then look at this photograph here. She is trying to squeeze her toes up onto her shoes because her shoes are ill-fitting, which just adds to the whole look looking messy. I do appreciate that the skirt is sitting lower. We don't have skirt meet boobs, which is a wonder. Meghan loves to hike things up to high heaven. And it has these nice diagonal lines which create movement and can be very, very flattering on straighter, more angular body types like Meghan's. So that's a positive. It folds and drapes and has more fabric around the hip area. It does help to balance her figure a little bit, but paired up with this top, they look mismatched. They look amateur. They look silly. I mean, like, I was embarrassed when I saw this for Meghan, and then I remembered that she's mean because, it looks so bad. It looks like she put this together as like a teenager would or a preteen would. Like, I want to wear a nice dress, but I don't have one, so I'm going to like turn this piece of fabric into a skirt and wear a leotard underneath. Oh, it's horrible. Also, observe just how wide this makes her torso look. Like, this completely erases her waistline, even though it's a streamlined look, because of the difference in fabrics and the difference in shade of black here. We have this lighter black on the torso. If anything, it should be a darker black on the torso and a lighter black on the hips, which would create more balance, because the darker a color is, the more slimming it is. But here, she's widening her torso and drawing the eye right to where the skirt and top meet, which is not a flattering situation for her. It's making her waistline look bigger. It's making her torso look wider, and she looks incredibly boxy once again. Meghan would really benefit from something that had that diagonal sort of a pattern or a darker shade across the torso and top to create a slimming effect or a faux waistline effect, or at least just something not so tight. The fact that this bodysuit is so tight is also making it look like it's too small for her and she's bulging out of it, which is not helped by the fact that the shoulders obviously are too wide for this bodysuit, as we discussed with the seam of the shoulder line. So this whole thing looks not only tacky, but ill-fitting, and is making her look boxy. And like in these photographs, her waistline looks thicker than it is. So it's just not flattering in any way, shape, or form. I think the earrings are okay. I think her makeup looks relatively nice. Her eyebrows are a little thick, like tall. The entire outfit, I wouldn't say screams 007 on theme, but it also just looks messy and amateur, like she does not know what she's doing. Somebody needs to help her figure out how to wear an outfit and pick an outfit that doesn't look this bad, because this looks awful. Oh my goodness. The skirt, the top, it looks so cheap. The shoes and bag look tacky. The whole outfit looks tacky, quite frankly, with this top and skirt. This skirt, though, what it wanted, what it needed was probably some sort of cropped top, just a corseted bodice or something sleeveless mayhaps, something that gave a little bit of like a bustier vibe, or perhaps something cropped. That's what I can imagine. Like these types of red carpet looks have these drapey skirts and then one of these like corseted style tops. And so I would imagine this style of skirt was meant for a top like this, or perhaps something sort of cropped, because those are really on trend right now. So that's what I imagine it was meant to be with. And Meghan couldn't pull it off, or Harry was like, no. Maybe he for once said, no, you shouldn't wear something like that. I don't think you should wear that. So she switched to this long sleeve turtleneck situation. But when you compare it to other people at the party, it looks tacky in comparison. It really does. So many of these women are wearing something really opulent, really glamorous and glitzy. Some of them are wearing stuff that's pretty sexy because it was a 007 vibe. You were supposed to dress kind of like a Bond girl. Meghan would be the most boring, bland, unsexy Bond girl I've ever seen. especially in this outfit, this super tacky outfit. My God, it's horrible. I'm not saying I loved all the outfits. I don't particularly like what Kylie wore. I feel like that looks kind of tacky too. But I like what Kris wore. I like what Kendall wore. I like what Kim's wearing. And I like what Chloe's wearing, I think. Let me see. Let me look closer before I say anything. Yeah, look at Chloe's beautiful sparkly dress. Now, they might have had an outfit change in the night. I don't know for sure. I'm not looking too closely at the rest of the party pictures. But in comparison, Meghan's outfit is a letdown and tacky. And cheap looking. It looks so cheap. Oh my gosh, how horrible. Once again, Harry and Meghan are confused. They don't know what they want. They want to be included at parties like this and go to parties like this, but they don't want the pictures out. They don't want to dress the part. I don't understand. This whole thing was a mess, and what an opportunity to blow. You know, they had the chance to apparently network and get on the good side of the Kardashians, or at least stay neutral with the Kardashians, and instead they have completely bitten the hand that fed them. This was a huge opportunity for them to show that they could understand Hollywood etiquette. And they failed, once again. The whole biting the hand that feeds you seems to be a big theme with Meghan and Harry. But leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me. I will be back with more videos as soon as I can. I am so sorry that I've been so slow getting videos out. There's just been a lot going on. And I have a hard time keeping up. I'm definitely not as quick as some of the other channels, but I appreciate you being here and being patient for my videos. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye.